Alright, hey gang, we're back here with the Literacy Career Pathways Academy video lecture series. Today we are going to be working on our active literacy model, and the tool that we are going to be working with today is going to be our multi-flow map. A multi-flow map which looks like this. As always, we begin with why we are going to use it. The reason we use our multi-flow map is to show causes and effects. Okay, so essentially what happened and why did it happen? Okay, and one of the big reasons we do this is so that we can make predictions, especially in history. We take a look at the events that happened and what led up to them and what resulted from them. And you've all heard me say before that history repeats itself. Well, if we understand that and understand that certain causes lead to certain events, we can make informed predictions. All right, starting with history. Okay, so we have our multi-flow map. Now, when we set up the map, as always, we don't need the same amount of boxes. Now, this is going to be our main focus, our topic box, or our main event. I always say when you want to choose a good topic event, you need to phrase it in the middle as though it is a newspaper headline. Okay, so you phrase it and then read it like it's coming out of a newspaper, and if it sounds good, you probably have a good focus event. So in this case, I wrote Japanese military attacks Pearl Harbor. All right, so we're going back to Pearl Harbor. Now, the way that this map reads is these are the causes, these are the effects. So when you are reading this map, it should read as follows. Because this happened, the Japanese military attacks Pearl Harbor. Because this happened, Japanese military attacked Pearl Harbor. Okay, and so on and so forth. That is why it is vitally important that whenever you make your multi-flow map, you have arrows and not just lines. Okay, because we want to make sure that our map shows a flowing relationship. So because these things on the left happen, that is why the Japanese military attacks Pearl Harbor. Likewise, okay, we have arrows over here. And we can read it still from left to right. These are our effects. Because the Japanese military attacks Pearl Harbor, this happened, and this happened, and this happened. Okay, so that's the way we read it. If you, well, we'll get to the checklist later, but if you, once you've done your multi-flow map, cannot read it that way, cannot say because, read what's in the box, and then read Japanese military attacks Pearl Harbor, your map needs to be worked on again. All right, so let's take a look at this. So Japanese military attacks Pearl Harbor. I'm going to say first, the U.S. had their guard down. So because the U.S. has their guard down, the Japanese military attacks Pearl Harbor. Okay. Also, Pearl Harbor was the closest threat to Japan. So, because Pearl Harbor was the closest threat to Japan, Japanese military attacks Pearl Harbor. Okay. Japan foresaw the U.S. getting into World War II. They wanted to attack us before we got powerful and into World War II. So because the Japanese foresaw us getting into World War II, they attacked Pearl Harbor. All right, as a result, the U.S. enters World War II. Okay, as a result, other aircraft carriers are moved to the Pacific. And on the home front, say Japanese Americans no longer trusted. Okay, so we have our map. Now, as always, you see I have 3 causes, 3 effects. Now, this is not a double bubble. This is not a point counterpoint. Okay, so there's really no relationship between these two, even though they're on the top level. All right, so what we have here is we have causes. You might have 30 causes and 2 effects. Okay, or the opposite way around. They don't need to match up. All right, you do whatever is appropriate for you. Okay. Now, okay, this is an example from science, okay, that Mr. Boland gave to me. I said, Mr. Boland, what's a good example of a way we can use a multi-flow map? And he said, well, how about evolution? The evolution of fish, for instance. Okay, and I look at it as somebody who hasn't studied evolution as much as Mr. Boland, and I can think of one really big example that led to fish evolving to have fins. Okay, so going back to our Wisconsin history unit, okay, so because the Ice Age ends and all that ice turns to water, you had all these animals that could swim but also walk, so had feet, and all the fish, or all these animals, any of them that had bigger fins, survived. If you didn't have big enough fins at the end of the Ice Age to swim and make it in water, you weren't going to survive. So because the Ice Age ends and the ice turns to water, fish evolved to have fins. Okay? So because fish evolved to have fins, we have to categorize animals. All right, because fish, now amphibians, so we have different categories now. All right. That is our multi-flow map. That's a map that we'll be using quite frequently. And actually here, let me go back for a second, because we do have our frame of reference still. And we take a look at this, and we might, so the Japanese military attacks Pearl Harbor. Now, obviously, anytime we talk about history, it might be good to do the POV, the point of view. Maybe we want to look at it from a Japanese perspective. That could be very useful. Maybe we want to ask ourselves, could this have been prevented? While looking at the causes and effects, you might want to do some critical thinking about that. Maybe you want to ask yourself, was Pearl Harbor really a bad thing? Okay. Now, obviously, we didn't add all the deaths. On the effect side, we didn't go simple and say thousands of people died. Okay. But we could have done that as well, and then we could have asked ourselves, well, was it worth it? We got into World War II. I could see somebody making that case, but just wanted to go back and show you how the frame of reference is used. Okay, so in your checklist, does your main box contain a focus event? Okay, does it function like a newspaper heading? Do your boxes have arrows that show the sequence, so left to right? Do your boxes contain complete thoughts? And can you read the boxes left to right like I showed you, saying because this happened, the middle event happened, and because the middle event happened, these effects happen. If you can, you have a good map, and we can use it now to critically think. All right, we'll definitely be using that map throughout the year. If you have any questions right now, please feel free to let me know. Other than that, when we get into the using of this map, I will be there to help you out and take a look at your critical thinking. Thanks. Have a good day.